we will learn about one more feature in ZOHO Books, and that feature is custom fields. So to go to custom fields, you will, when you log into your ZOHO Books, you will mostly see your dashboard, which is currently showing up. So go to this settings icon, which looks like a wheel. So just go to that, and there you have to go to preferences. In the preferences, there is an option. Normally we create custom fields in customers and vendors also, but here one of the things which we are trying to achieve is creating custom fields in the expense area, because the problem with the expense area is that system normally generates an automatic expense situation. It's like it creates a ZOHO Books itself creates a reference number which is system generated, ERP generated, which is very useful in terms of when you have a voucher that you have or expense bill that you have already taken a photograph or screenshot of or scan and attached to your transaction in the system. But the drawback of that particular thing is that that in the cash transaction it doesn't create any kind of automated generated reference number. So the benefit of automated generated reference number is also this, that you put a transaction inside the system from the bank transaction, and then the ZOHO itself gives you a random number starting from S or C and then 1 2 3 something, a 6-digit to 7-digit number. So that randomly generated number is very good for tracking the expense voucher later in the future, as well as it assures that the employee or the representative who is handling the expense bills has actually entered in the system. Because if you have entered in the system generates a number, and that number if you write on the bill, so both ways it is tracked. So in the on the system it is tracked on a way of having a digital imprint of the bill, and on the bill itself, the physical bill itself, physical voucher itself, there is a number that we write, so that when you're reviewing or when you're auditing it back in the future, so that time you don't have a doubt that it is not entered in the system, and your actually the productivity goes up. So the way to achieve is that after you come into the preferences area, go to expenses area, and in the expenses area go to field customization. So here what we are trying to achieve is the auto generated number, so that in the cash transactions also the auto generated number happens. So when we come to the field customizations, currently we don't have a custom field created already, while we have an opportunity to create 103 custom fields, and we just want to create one for now, while the options are many. So suppose we write an auto generated number, something like expense reference number. So the data type is, again we are going for auto generated number, and we can write in a help text, this is the auto generated expense number for bills. And prefix, if you want to do, if you just go on this question mark sign also, it gives you an idea about how exactly it can be. So prefix is the initial 3 or initial 5 or initial 10, depends on what you want to enter. That is the thing. So for example, initial prefix, we just want to keep it like that as EXP, while we have an option to do it as C for the cash, and the system itself generated S for the bank or the random expense transactions. But just to make sure that we have a universal thing which can be used in cash or cash as well as bank, and EXP shows decently fine as an expense item. So we have a starting number. Suppose we make a 4-digit number and starts with 1. So that's how we can do it. Now the suffix is currently we are not doing anything, and it also has an option to put it on an existing expenses. Now the point is that if suppose you have some existing expenses and you want to put it, I would suggest that you should go for it. Because what max can happen, max is this, that you have a random number currently generated for current time. So if you have new legal requirements changes, then of course you can be careful on which one to use. If it is from this year, then you can use from this year. But if you want to just make sure that every expense item has a random number, so then you can use this. In case your this is also preferable in case your books of accounts are complete for the previous year. In case they are not, then I would suggest to first of all get them sorted and then start. However, you can't change it later. If you can set it now, you can use it now, but you can't change it later. And secondly, one more thing that you can do is, because the audit logs clearly show that when you have activated this particular feature, and of course mostly we are using the bank reference number, so that thing already takes care of most of the things. So if you want to start it, this is something you can make sure that every bill has it, so the operations are better for the future. Now, is it a mandatory field? So currently we are setting it as no, and the reference that we get, expense reference is this one. So we can see how exactly the things are being created. You can make some minor changes in the future, but for now this is the thing which we are considering on. And so we'll just save it, and once we save it, so it is created and it is active expense reference. Now if you go to the billing section, for example, if you go to Mac and if you go to purchases and the expenses section, we focused on expenses here. So if you go to expenses section, we should see that particular column or that particular information. So currently, because we have made the information just now, sometimes the system takes time to populate, but still we go on expense item and we have an expense reference number here. I hope you can see the expense reference number down on the left side of the menu. So that's how it is useful. Thank you.